Right, so for those wondering what to expect from iOS 17, we have a bunch of new information, so let's delve into it. So most of these findings are from the Leaker 941 analyst, who was the first to tell us about the dynamic island on the 14 Pro, so they are somewhat credible. However, I do want to say that in the past, people have been completely off about iOS leaks, so either way, take this with a grain of salt. The first rumored change is updates to the control center, so this has been mostly the same since iOS 11, I believe, but with iOS 17 we could see Apple give us more customizability. For example, pick exactly which toggles you want, since right now you can only add or remove things to the bottom half of the control center, but you should now hopefully be able to place toggles anywhere, so that's pretty nice. The next change we could see has to do with the island, because as someone with a 14 Pro, I was pretty disappointed that this wasn't further integrated into the UI, and it seems that now with the regular models getting this, Apple wants to bake in more features into the island to make it more useful. The main changes we've heard about is integrating the Siri pop-up into the actual island, which I'm surprised they didn't do in the first place, but also I think notifications and messages should pop out from the island. And by the way, would like to remind you guys, like this video and subscribe for more content like this, it would be appreciated. Now here's a feature I'm looking forward to, and that's improvements to performance and stability, because as everyone knows, iOS 16 was a bug fest, so before we get any new fancy features, I was hoping the main upgrade with iOS 17 was stability, and thankfully that is something Apple's going to focus with this update. I remember how big of a change iOS 12 was stability-wise, especially for older devices, so if iOS 17 could match that, I would be happy. Interactive widgets is another thing that's being rumored, and to be fair, this has been a rumor for a while, because while I do appreciate Apple giving us widgets, with iOS 14 the fact I could only see what music I was listening to and not control it was a little stupid, so if this does materialize for iOS 17, that would be greatly appreciated. Improvements to search are also in the works, but to be honest, I'm not sure what they could change apart from maybe adding more AI features and jumping on that bandwagon, but I doubt Apple would do that, and search is pretty good as is. If I search for a word, it even goes through my photos and images related to that word, so I don't think we need many changes in this department. Some other smaller changes we've heard about are health app changes, particularly regarding the favorites tab, car key improvements, more control over the always on display, more focus mode filters, notification changes, and also some sort of basic mode where you can change the UI completely for older people or younger children. Now after those changes, I'm most curious about what Apple's going to do with the always on display, because they already gave us the option to have a black background, which is what I use, but maybe you can now toggle it on for specific time periods during the day. Now the final thing to delve into is regarding supported devices, because recently there's been tons of conflicting reports regarding which devices will be supported. Initially we heard about the A11 iPhones, like the 8 and the 10, were going to lose support, but now we hear from 941 analyst that they will still be supported. And if I'm being honest, I'm actually quite surprised by that, because right now the A11 devices do miss out on a lot of smart features like live text and removing the background from images because of the much weaker neural engine, so discontinuing these devices would make sense as iOS becomes more neural engine focused. But I guess Apple wants to keep the 10 alive because it was a very special iPhone, and if it does get iOS 17, expect many features to not come to the A11 devices, and they will instead get the bare bones experience. Now all these features sound pretty cool, but I do want to emphasize Apple should focus on stability with this update. I'm frankly fed up with how buggy iOS has been, so please Apple, give us another iOS 12-like update. I'm glad it's being rumored, because that should be the focus over new features in my opinion. Anyways, let's now delve into your questions. So Xander says, I want individual volume controls for different apps, such as if I want to play Spotify at a low volume while watching YouTube videos at the same time at a higher volume level than Spotify's. And that actually would be a very useful feature. I usually play music on my speakers via Spotify, and so if I could better control the volume for that while playing YouTube videos on my iPhone, it would be pretty convenient. Right now I have to go into Spotify to control the volume of the music, but Android devices usually give you separate controls for each media that's being outputted on the device, so Apple should just copy that. So William Hera says, do you think OS Watch will have better workout features? I was surprised they've taken away many exercises. I wish blood pressure would come next. Unfortunately, I'm probably the last person you should be asking this because I rarely use my watch for fitness, but I'm surprised you think they're taking away a lot of exercises on the Apple Watch. I was always under the assumption Apple lets you track a wide range of exercise types and activities, and also regarding blood pressure monitoring, that would require a new sensor in the watch, but I'm sure that's in the works. I believe Gurman said 2024. So Arbitfire says, I could probably see some control center revamp. As for the whole customization on the previous leaks builds, could make its way to iOS 17. Rest is all up in the air, and yes, definitely take everything we hear with a grain of salt, because it's very likely iOS leaks can be false, since if you think about it, it's pretty easy for Apple to leak out fake software info on purpose compared to hardware leaks. But honestly, I would not be mad if we don't see a ton of new features. I just want stability. While iOS 16.4.1 has been much better for me, I will say iOS 16 as a whole has been super rough and buggy, so if iOS 17 was stable from the get-go and it doesn't have many new features, I would be fine with that. So Jay White says, I'm hoping iOS 17 will be a stability update rather than a feature update, because iOS 16 has been really bad since iOS 16 was released in September 2022. And yeah, this is exactly what I've been thinking. I'm quite fine with iOS features wise, but stability is what's missing, so if Apple could focus on that, I would be completely happy, because I've used Android recently on the Pixel and it's super fluid and stable compared to iOS, so Apple needs to catch up. So Joe says, I hope we don't get price hikes, but this year seems like the year, and yes, if we do get titanium as rumoured, that's likely going to be the reason we get price increases. And to be fair, the whole market has increased prices of their phones, but Apple, at least in the US, has kept the Pro phones at the same price since 2018, so that's pretty impressive if I'm being honest. However, I do want to say there is a chance Apple does subsidize their US pricing by giving everyone else price increases. That's what they did with the iPhone 14 series, because the Pro phones were more expensive to build, but prices in the US stayed the same while everyone else in the world got massive price hikes. So considering the US is their biggest market, they might do that this year too, which to be honest sucks for me because I'm not based in the US, but it's likely Apple does that. Anyways, let me know your thoughts regarding this in the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content like this, and thank you for watching.